Well, that was fucking easy. Whirlwind is finally back and it's better than ever, able to push well into the 130s and speedrunning 105s in less than 2 minutes with ease. And that's without being force-fed streamer gear. But hey, Mr. Paragaming, didn't you already make this build a couple of days ago? Hell yeah, my friend, but since then it got massively buffed. And I truly mean massively. The Dust Devil aspect got its damage doubled, and all of the juicy Uber uniques got massively buffed as well, more than doubling our damage. And now it's just pure insanity, as well as perhaps the most important reason as to why you should play this build. It's fucking fun, man. By far my favorite build in this game. And in case you're interested in pushing with this build, just know that you can easily double my damage with some decent items. I just happen to brick all of my items. I think Blizzard may hate me after seeing all of my jokes about them drinking titty milk. But first things first, what is required to play this build? Well, damn, not a whole lot. What you do need is the Granddaddy and a chance to make enemies vulnerable on one of your gear pieces. And I can definitely recommend buying this, seeing as I just spent 300 re-rolls trying to get it myself. So if you wonder where I've been the last 2 days, I've obviously been punching a massive hole in my monitor. You're also looking to gather as many Uber uniques as possible. This is not mandatory, but it increases your damage by a lot. For them shit newbies, however, I'll provide you with some non-Uber options. Other than that, this build is a bleed build, meaning we use gushing wounds. And by stacking as much crit chance and crit damage on our gear as possible, along with vulnerable for the hemorrhage legendary node, we can get our bleeds to tick in the hundreds of millions. You'll need to make a rogue ult to get as much crit as possible, seeing as barbs can't temper it on their gear for some reason. Alright, and what makes this build so great compared to my other one, and perhaps even other spin-to-win builds? Well, damn, my man, I've spent an eternity maxing out my Paragon boards along with testing out all different combinations of ways to play this build. And in this version, we're rocking Leap. This is due to it granting us berserking, damage reduction, and a massive damage boost. And without this skill, it's insanely hard to keep up berserking on bosses, seeing as Whirlwind has an abysmal lucky hit chance. In this build, we're also rocking Yen's Blessing. And why is that? Well, damn, my man, it's due to it doubling our shout uptime with ease. This item is extremely slept on, and it's absolutely massive for Dust Devil builds. On top of that, a greater affix roll on the damage reduction nets you a 30% damage reduction, allowing you to stay alive despite being dizzy from all the spinning. Alright, that's a bit of the basics. Let's check out the gear and aspects to make you an expert in this build. And firstly, you're free to tell me to eat shit, because I'm using 4 Ubers. The Tyrails might got its damage doubled, and Starless Skies got a 10% damage buff, meaning they're all amazing now. Shaco is also alright, but what you're really after is the Granddaddy, as it doubles your crit damage for gushing wounds. So go out and rip the Diabetic Fatty a new one, and farm some Ubers. For the Shaco, you're looking to masterwork the resource generation or cooldown reduction. For Tyrails might, the maximum resistance or damage reduction. The Starless Skies, crit chance, and in the Grand Puppy, I'd go for max life. Alright? And then we have the gloves. As I said previously, you need to temper crit damage on your rogue. What's even more important, however, is getting a bunch of crit chance. The crowd control duration, however, is not used in this build variant, and I'd instead go for chance to stun or any of the other crowd controls to easily stagger bosses, or barrier generation to boost your iron skin. And for aspect, imprint the fierce wind aspect for Big Damn. When it comes to the pants, the most important stat to get is imposing presence. This is due to the absolute massive health bonus it generates. It's also a lovely way to brick items, seeing as there's 8 outcomes you can get when tempering it. And for aspect, we have Bulkathos aspect. This one is lovely generating 25% damage reduction, along with being able to use the earthquake aspect for an additional 25% big dam. After that, we have the boots. You're definitely looking for a pair with greater affix damage reduction here, or movement speed, as they're massive. Other than that, this one pops one of your cooldown for you. Now, I'm not using Challenging Shout in my setup, since I don't need it. When I'm speed running, I'm also not using Iron Skin that frequently. And what does that mean, my friends? You're damn right. A permanent uptime on Rallying Cry of Warcry, granting a massive DPS bonus. Hell yeah. And next is the Big Daddy Hammer. You're looking for about a 1-to-10 ratio when it comes to crit damage compared to vulnerable. If you have close to my gear, then you should drop the tempered vulnerable damage for crit, and it will be perfect. I only have one temper left on this item, however, so that shit just ain't happening. Other than that, this one is pretty good, and you need to imprint Berserk Ripping to get big bleeds. You're also using Chance to cast Dust Devils twice here, and Dust Devil size on the one-handers, as it makes it a bit easier to masterwork. On the one-handers, you also have the Earthquake aspect and Devilish. The Devilish was previously on the amulet, which I recommend for speed farming, but for pushing the Dust Devil's aspect is now the GOAT, since its damage was doubled. Here on the amulet, you're looking for something like this, but you need to replace the max life with crit chance. Alright, Mr. Paragaming, but why haven't you done it? Are you stupid or something? Well, let me introduce you to this. Or perhaps this. Yeah, only a sub can take my pain away. And for rings, you're looking for Starless Skies along with something like this. As I said in the intro, you need to get Chance to make enemies vulnerable here. And why haven't I done it? Well, obviously because this ring is a piece of shit and refuses to give it to me. Well, damn, that was the gear and aspects. What about the weapon arsenal then? This is usually so tough to keep track of for the poor barbarians. Yeah, just set everything to slashing weapon and you're good to go. Due to this, you can also grab the two-handed axe expertise for 10% extra damage. Well, will you look at that? It's already skill tree a fucking clock. Let's take a look what's going on there now. You're going to start with 2 points in Bash. We're obviously not using it though, because that shit is boring as hell. Instead, pick up Enhanced Whirlwind to gain some extra fury. Someone also asked me why I didn't take Furious Whirlwind, and the answer is quite simple. It's shit. Whirlwind deals literally 0 damage, and we're only using it to spawn Dust Devils. Instead, max out Pressure Point for easier vulnerable. We need this along with vulnerable chance on the ring to keep everything vulnerable, as the lucky hit chance on Whirlwind is just awful. We then go to the defensive skills and pick up Imposing Presence. There's also room for Martial Vigor here if you lack any defensives. Just grab a few points from Warcry, for example. We also want Tactical Rallying Cry for the extra Fury region for our Devilish aspect, and Iron Skin to make sure we stay at full health for Tyrael's might. We then go to the Brawling skills, pick up Warcry along with all of the yummy passives down here, and then grab Leap. We also want Enhanced and Power Leap, as we will spawn 4 tornadoes every time we use our Leap then. Pretty damn strong. After that, I grab all of the passives here for extra damage and go to the ultimate skills. Heavy-handed is the most important damage bonus you can get along with crit chance, and you definitely want this one on the amulet. Also, pick up Wrath of the Berserker for yet more damage. It does take quite a bit of time to stack up Supreme Wrath of the Berserker when you use Starless Skies, but it is what it is. And finally, the key passive. Gushing Wounds is what enables this build along with the Granddaddy, allowing this build to actually deal damage. You're obviously looking to max out your crit chance at 100%, but that's nearly impossible unless you're a German streamer. To your help, however, you have Elixir of Precision and Chorus of War if you want to push for some extra crit chance. Well, damn will you look at that. We survived the skill tree. Nicely done. Let's check out what I've done to the Paragons since we last met, because a few things has changed there. Namely, rare nodes are actually usable now that Blizz changed the requirements, allowing us to grab a bunch of extra damage along with damage reduction. We're still starting off with Wrath, as it's fucking bonkers. We then go to the Warbringer board and use this legendary node to fortify us. I'm also socketing Ire here. Ideally, though, you don't want this glyph, but I reckon most of you will need it. In any way, I might is what you would grab if you don't need the damage reduction or berserking damage. I'm also rocking fire resistance here, along with poison resistance here, to make room for other affixes on the gear. Hemorrhage is also a must-have, but grab it last, as we're not using any rare nodes here. Instead, go to the Blood Rage board, make sure to max it out, and socket Exploit for instant vulnerable. We then go to the Decimator board, grab some yummy vulnerable damage, and socket Twister for the extra damage. And finally, we have the Carnage board, where we socket Marshal. I'm using it here to boost the damage reduction, along with a bit of extra damage while berserking. Well shit, son. Paragon's done. And what's about to happen now? You're absolutely correct. It's time to get hecking good and start blasting. The playstyle depends on whether you have Tyrael's Might or not. If you have Tyrael's Might, then you need to stay above 100% life. This means that whenever you drop in life, you instantly pop Iron Skin to heal yourself back up. If you don't have it, however, then it doesn't hecking matter when you use it. I also recommend spamming the Whirlwind button if you have Tyrael's Might, as it grants you more spikes shooting out of your dick. If you don't have it, then I'd rather hold the button down as to avoid carpal tunnel syndrome. Other than these things, the build is extremely easy. You don't need to worry about keeping up berserking because you just use Leap whenever it is off cooldown. The shouts along with Wrath of the Berserker should also be used on cooldown for maximum DPS. And finally, the most important thing. Have some hecking fun, my man, and I'll see you in the next one.